Well, there's a lot of talk about whether this person or that person is a racist on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and I'm sure we'll come across some of this later. There's a debate about whether or not Farage is actually truly a racist. I think the answer is probably not at the moment. And I think, in contrast to the king and Obed Scooby's scoop suggests that the king is a racist, this is complete rubbish, utter tosh. And we know, because we know of the various efforts that the king has made to reach out to different communities within the UK and beyond. And I think the idea of the king as a racist is almost impossible to sustain. And even if the question about Archie is proven to be authentic, I think even there it's simply a question somebody would ask, and I think the evidence is much stronger in the other direction. As for Farage, well, Farage has done a great deal to try to mitigate the allegations against him that he is a racist. So, for example, if you go all the way back to the Sue Bowden episode, where Farage demanded that she withdrew as a council candidate because she had once been a member of the BNP, and she had spoken in far right meetings as recently as 2010. I think that's is that evidence that Farage is not a racist? I'm not sure that's the case, and similarly, I'm not sure that the fact that he was caught on Cameo, this greetings thing on Instagram, which actually I'm a member of. Every so often I do little greetings. So if you want a greeting, please contact me through Cameo. And he's put out some most extraordinary Cameo videos, but for the most part, I think he's been sent scripts, and he's been too stupid to realise that what he's actually saying is either racist or homophobic. So there are some specific Cameo messages that he's given out that I've got in front of me here, and I was going to read them out, and now I suddenly realise that they're too obscene, and they are too racist to be repeated. Now, in the case of the Cameo, I can well see that a stupid person could be duped, and Farage, although he's been very well trained, I don't think is the brightest penny in the box. I really don't think so. I think when Farage has extraordinary capacity to talk about Europe and to talk about Brexit. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's very well schooled. He's very well trained. He's probably the best in the business because he has one single trick. But beyond that, I probably wouldn't be expecting more than very charming and bland generalities. The fact that he was married to a German person doesn't automatically, again, exclude the fact that he might be racist. And his background as a child at school and his infatuation with Enoch Powell and his appropriation of Nazi slogans is suspicious and probably much something that needs explanation in a much sounder way than some of the Cameo stuff. But I think the real problem with Farage is that he doesn't see the importance of language. And this was certainly true in my dealings with Farage and with an MEP called Coburn, who made an extraordinarily racist slur about the man who is now the First Minister of Scotland. And he called him Abu Hamza, who is a convicted terrorist in New York, the man without any hands. And to make that sort of joke based on somebody's name simply because the name isn't familiar to you, simply because the name doesn't sound like the names your friends have got, that is racist. And to toss that off, as Farage did, as well, just a bit of fun, just a joke. Can't you take a joke? That's exactly the point. Not to be sensitive to somebody else's race, background, religion, and so on. That is what it means to be racist. And Farage would not support my calls for Coburn to be stripped of his office, to resign, to be forced to resign. Coburn didn't feel that it was necessary, and Farage didn't feel that it was necessary. And instead of dealing with that, they attacked me, simply because I was calling for this resignation. And that is absurd. And not only that, but they this meant there was local councillors thought that it was in their interests to continue that attack personally, not only to attack me but to attack my family, and I thought that was beyond the pale. And that is the sort of leadership that Farage gives. So is Farage himself a racist? Probably not. Is Farage blinkered to racism? Absolutely. Is Farage indifferent to other people's racism? Absolutely. Is Farage a racist? No. But was racism encouraged under Farage? Yes, and I imagine it still is. And what's happened now with the stuff in the jungle is GB News is trying to turn this round and accuse Nella Thingamy of racism because she rather stupidly says, "Why do all black people hate you?" It's simply not true. It's simply not true, as Farage was quite ably able to respond and say. And I'll have a look at that clip later on today if I have time. It's an interesting clip, and these people have been pretty well set up to look foolish by production. They're not equipped to deal with a man who has spent 20 years training himself to speak on one particular subject, and he does it very, very well.